Hello, everybody, and welcome inside the Raiders training facility here in Henderson, Nevada. I'm Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on Sports Illustrated and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast. It's great to be with you today to continue to just give you updates of what's happening here at the facility. I just walked out of practice earlier. Before that, Antonio Pierce spoke. You can watch the video at our YouTube or listen to the audio however you want to do it, or keep it tuned right here to si.com/NFL/Raiders. But uh, there is a genuine sense of excitement on this team. They're getting back a ton of injured players. Thayer and Devine are back in practice today. Jackson Powers Johnson back in practice today. I mean, there's a lot of guys. Zamir White's going to practice. So a lot of guys coming back, a lot of guys, getting healthy, which is what this team needed. I'm not pretending like they needed all of those people to win last week. They didn't. They should have won. I'm not making any excuses. But the Steelers are better than the Broncos. So to get as many complemented players back is a very big deal. And there is a sense of true optimism. I touched on this yesterday, but I feel like I need to reiterate it again. After the Carolina game, there was a lot of anger inside the locker room towards each other and towards themselves. And this week, after AP watched the film with the team and then with himself, and then of course with the team, and he was able to explain, guys, look at this. And there wasn't any quit. It was just guys trying to do too much, and he's trying to get them to calm down and just do their job. I can tell you the Raiders worked on tackling extra hard all week. It was almost back to like a training camp atmosphere. However, the caveat is it wasn't all the hitting of training camp. You just can't do that in a regular NFL season. Physically, you just can't. These guys hit too hard. They're too big, too fast, too strong, and can't. But they worked on squaring themselves up, getting your feet right, approaching the guy you're going to tackle, breaking down, wrap up, hit, drive, the way you tackle. They worked on all that, especially a lot with bags this week. So it was the intensity of training camp without as much, one-on-one hitting, although there was one-on-one hitting, was nothing like training camp from that perspective. As far as physicality, it was with intensity. They understand how important this game is Sunday against the Steelers. They're well aware of it. I can tell you there's already Steeler fans in town down on the strip. When you're from here, and I don't want from here meaning born here, but when you're here, one thing you learn is you really don't go down to the strip. You just, those of us that live here don't. Those of us that are here a lot don't. Um, you'll go down for dinner or occasionally a show, but you just don't go down there like a tourist every night of the week. And I had to drive through downtown yesterday to meet with someone, and I was stunned to see so much Steelers. But there's going to be a lot of it. I expect a lot of Steelers. That's usually what happens when they're here, and they travel incredibly well. But they understand there can be a ton of Steelers in that building, but they've also been in there when there's been a ton of from the other team, and their ability to play well turned that crowd. They get that. They understand where this is at. I mean, it would be par for the course with this team to have lost to the Bolts, to have lost to Carolina, and lose to the Broncos, three bad teams that they should have beaten all three, but only to return to win against Baltimore and then win against the Steelers. And that's what I think is going to happen when they face the Steelmen um, on Sunday. Let's talk about Aiden O'Connell. I've been hammering this with you, and AP hammered it again today. What are you looking for out of Aiden O'Connell? No turnovers, no turnovers, no turnovers. This Raider team believes that with their defense, they can win any football game, but they can't win games where they're giving the ball away. I mean, I mentioned this the other day, and I had someone from the team tell me they thought it was a great analogy. Do you think if Minshew just throws a bad pass and it goes out of bounds on that pick six, do you think they lose that game? No, because then they still go up 17-3 or 13-3. Now, there could have been something else that happens down the line. We don't know, but strictly going off the way the team collapsed with that, that's a big deal. The team amongst themselves has been talking a lot about mental toughness. A lot of the leaders. So Robert Spillane with the linebackers and the defensive backs, Max defensive line, Colton Miller with the offensive line. There's been a lot of talk among leadership this week about do your job. Don't try to do more than what you're paid to do. Just do yours. Because what happens is if you're trying to do another person's job for them, then you end up with two guys not doing their job. So do your job. And Bill Belichick is famous for that, but we actually have a story coming. One of our listeners pointed out to me in an email, and I give him credit. Do you know where that originally came from? And yes, I do. It originally came from Al Davis telling that to, I don't remember if he told Parcells first. I think it was Parcells. He told it to Parcells first, and then Parcells told it to Belichick, or it may have been Al right to Belichick, but it originally was an Al thing. Do your job. Just do yours. And I think the Raiders are going to respond. Getting to 3-3 is mammoth because then they go down to LA and they play a bad Rams team. Now, I think Sean McVay's a very good coach. I think Matthew Stafford is a great quarterback. There's a lot of things about that team that are good, but they're not having a good season. And there's going to be a massive Raider presence. So they got a chance here to get to 4-3 going into the meat of that schedule, which is going to be brutal. But you can see a path here. You can see a way here. But the biggest key is going to be Aiden avoiding turnovers. Now, they feel pretty comfortable with that. Coming down the stretch last year, I think he was 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. They feel comfortable with what he's done on the field. Okay, training camp, struggled a little bit. Preseason game, a turnover, a pick six cost him. They find it interesting that a pick six really ended up costing Gardner his starting job, and essentially the same with Aiden. Now, I don't think they would admit that publicly, but I'm telling you that was the case. And so that's how this whole thing is meshing out. It's going to be a turnover game. If you turn on the game on Sunday and the Raiders are winning, the chances are you can look at the turnover margin and see the Raiders are winning. If they're losing, chances you'll see that they're losing. If they're losing, they've lost a turnover battle. There is a rule called the rule of 5. And what that is, and this is a very important rule, is if you can be +5 in the turnover and sack department, meaning if you had 3 sacks that your quarterback got sacked 3 times and you had 3 turnovers, you'd be +6. But if the other team had 5 sacks and 5, you now will be -4. And that the rule of 5 means, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but it's somewhere in the 80% that you win those games, you're +5. So it's just a huge value on protecting your quarterback and not having interceptions, getting the ball out quick throws, allowing the Getsy offense that you have seen, you have tangible proof that it works when they're able to be balanced. Now, if you're the Steelmen, your whole opinion of this week is very simple. We're going to make the Raiders be one-dimensional. If it's running, great. If it's passing, great. But the Steelmen just want to make the Raiders be one-dimensional. They feel very comfortable. And quite frankly, I think any team in the NFL would feel comfortable playing the Raiders if they were one-dimensional. The Raiders have to be balanced. It doesn't have to be a 50-50 balance, but they've got to be balanced. They've got to be able to do both. I want to see the creativity on first down, which we saw early in the game against the Broncos. I want to see that. I want to see some creativity. I don't want passing on every first down. But if I'm AP, I'm going to Lugetzi saying 55% of the time I want to see a pass on first down. I don't care if it's for 3 yards. Just get the ball out, keep the field spread. That's the key to beating the steel men is you've got to spread them out. They're going to pack the box. They want to play the game in a phone booth. They want you to go out there and to uh, try to run it up their throat, and they know what they're going to do. So if you're the Raiders and you know they have a great pass rush, TJ Watt, early downs is where you want to throw the ball. You want to get to 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1. Those are all manageable. Because then they're like, okay, are they going to pass? Are they going to run? That's where they need to be. So to me, this whole game is going to be predicated on first downs. You know that Aiden's going to get the ball out quick. That's not a concern. I think you're going to see a lot of these Raiders receivers eat. But you need to watch, though, because I will not be shocked if they start to back out of the box or if they load it too high. Aiden audibilizes with a whoosh, quick strike down the field to Trey. So that's going to be the plan. There's a lot of excitement here because a lot of guys are back at practice. We'll have a story up later today, and depending on when you watch this, it could already be up with the latest on health and the injury report. But it's predicated on Sunday with first down success and passing to set up the run. That's the entire predication of the offense. We know what the Steelers are going to do on offense. We know what the Raiders are going to do on defense. That's not the concern. The concern in this game is Raiders' first down efficiency and turnovers. Just using and setting up the pass. A couple things I want to talk about. I alluded yesterday to you about Devante Adams, and nothing has changed. There is a possibility that he could return to the Raiders. I do not believe it's a probability, but there is a legitimate shot, a percentage chance that he could come back. When it's all done with Devante and he's eventually gone, whether it's now or at the end of the year or whenever, and when we write about it, Ezekiel Trezevant and I, we're going to talk about it. But I think there are some legitimate problems here. I mean, when you let it leak out, regardless of who the leaker is, and I certainly know who I think it was, but when you let it leak out that somebody doesn't want to be here, it lowers the trade market. I don't think the Raiders will want to pay any of the salary, and there's a lot of salary left and a big salary next year. Devante does not have a trade clause. We know that. But if he says, trade me to a team I don't want to go to and I'll retire, and I'm not saying he has, I'm saying this is power that he has. He could, or he could say, no, I'm not interested in renegotiating a long-term deal with you. And so teams are like, okay, if you get him, you know you're getting him for 1 year. Well, we're not willing to take him if you're not willing to pay 10 million of the salary. So right now you're sitting here 12 weeks left. The Raiders essentially, this isn't an exact figure, but essentially own 1.2 million. So if you're going to rent him for a season, then you're going to probably either do it for a conditional pick or, which the Raiders don't want to do, or if you want a high pick, you're going to have to pay for it. So how much do you have to give? So I could see at some point where the Raiders just say, okay, you're going to come back and play. Now, he has the right to say he won't play. I don't know that he would do that. I find that hard to believe, but probably not for the reasons that you think. I don't think it has anything to do with money. Um, I've had several people contact me and ask me if I thought my report came because of the switch to Aiden OConnell. No, I don't think this. I know the switching to Aiden OConnell had nothing to do with my report yesterday that there is a possibility Devante Adams would play again for the Raiders, although I don't think it's a probability. Had nothing to do with Aiden O'Connell. I know a lot of people wish it did, but that was not part of it. And again, we learned that yesterday morning from a source very close to the situation, just that it was a possibility, not a probability. So there you go. A lot of guys back at practice. I know I missed a few, so forgive me, but a lot of guys back at practice, and the Raiders are getting healthy, which is where they needed to be, desperately needed to be here. Matter of fact, a long time ago when I did my season prediction, I don't think it was this early in the season, but it may have been. But I talked about the Raiders. Matter of fact, I think it was the Rams game where I said they would get beat up physically and go through a lull because of their health. Well, they're there just a little bit early. So that's where we sit right now. That's the latest on your Raiders and what's happening here at headquarters. A lot of good stuff going on this weekend. Going to be a really big game, monster game. And I know the rule is they all count one. But man, getting back to 500, this one just feels like it counts more than one. So thanks for being with us, everybody. I want to remind all the members, next Wednesday's our next members only meeting. If you're not a member, join. It's $4.99 a month. We'd love to see you there. If you don't want to join, you don't have to. You're not losing any videos. You're not losing any um, podcasts. Nothing changes for you. Appreciate y'all. Have a great day and God bless you.